everyone. I'm Aimee Allen. Maybe some of you know me as Aimee and Matthew. I went to UVic to study microbiology way back in the day, 2010. I think I joined Lambrick very quietly in the back, and sometimes I helped serve coffee since 2011. And I've been serving overseas, but because of the pandemic, I'm back here serving with InterVarsity BC. So that's a little bit of me.
And my name's Matthew. I haven't actually been to a Lambrick service in person yet. We did a quick presentation in the fall when there was a little bit of a reprieve in cases. But I've been joining Lambrick virtually for a little bit, and have been known about Lambrick since Aimee and I got married almost a year ago now.
Woohoo!
So yeah, it's been an interesting year to get married.
Yes.
But a very good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you guys work for InterVarsity.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about InterVarsity and what they do and what you do for them?
So InterVarsity is a non-denominational organization that works with students at varying levels. So whether they be as young as campers going to one of the either pioneer camps across Canada or the Circle Square Ranch camps, or high school, university, and now we're starting to expand into students as they're first entering into the workplace and continuing to mentor them in that space. What we end up doing is working with the university students. And to me, university is kind of that important space of people really discovering their individuality and who they are, not as kids of their parents, but actually their own identity. And so I think it's extremely important to have good Christian influence and people that can share the gospel into that context as they are wrestling with the questions of who am I and what is this world. And so we get the privilege of just walking with students as they wrestle with those kinds of questions, and then enter into Bible studies and have them understand what the scripture says and how they can apply it into their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. I don't know what else I can say to that, but all of that I also do at a different campus. Yeah, I think the first one that came to mind as we were just reflecting over the semester, and there's been a lot of great ministry that's been happening actually, despite being it online. It's kind of sad because I'm like, oh, Bible camps are just so much better in person. That's my personal preference. I think everyone's personal preference. But just this past May, we went through the book of Ruth. And what was really encouraging to me was at the end, when we were asking students, their takeaways from this camp, it was a 3-day study of Ruth. We had 80 students from both BC and Winnipeg join us. And I just remember one student excitedly saying like, oh, I feel called to follow Jesus. I want to follow God. And so we had a new believer join our kingdom. That was really exciting because I thought, oh, it's online. It's not going to be as good. But it really still touched students' hearts. And that was really encouraging to see.
Yeah.
So you guys have already been globetrotters through your lives. And right now you're in Vancouver. But you are going to be moving soon. So where will you be moving and why?
Yes, what a great question. So we are in Vancouver on July 1st. The great way to see Canada is to drive through every single province across Canada and then relocate to our new home in Nova Scotia. So that's where we will be. Matthew is going to be serving in Dalhousie University. I'm going to serve and mentor students at Mount St. Vincent. And kind of the story behind that is COVID related, I would say. We had in the beginning of the year felt like God was calling us to continue serving in East Asia, but that door was very closed. And so we took some time to pray and discern, actually in Rivendell, which is aptly named. Yes, it's alluding to J.R. Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring. But it is a retreat center up in Bowen Island. We spent a weekend there praying about, okay, there's lots of opportunities across Canada, lots of campuses that we still don't have staff to like be and mentor with students. So from that weekend and prayer time, we felt a strong sense of going to Halifax. And so that's why we're doing the big trip across.
I think as it gets closer, it feels more crazy and more of a leap of faith. But I think there are a lot of things that like God has been highlighting and getting us excited about. And I think one of the things that we are excited about is that we want to have a community house. And so not just kind of mentor students while they're on campus, but actually be like, okay, how do we try and live out our faith holistically and mentor people in all aspects of that? And so have different students actually be living with us. And so, yeah, we were able to find a house close to the Mount St. Vincent campus that we were able to purchase. And it seems like it's a great location and great place to invite students into. And so I'm really excited to see how that flourishes and how God ends up using that space. And then, yeah, I'm also kind of excited to see what ends up happening at Dalhousie University and trying to expand, especially for myself, into a lot of the international students and connect with them, especially with my past being in a variety of different, I spent a couple of years in Burundi in Eastern Africa, and then another short time in Burkina Faso in Western Africa, and then also some time in the Caribbean in Martinique. So having a little bit of that understanding of what international students are going through at that time.
I think for me, every day that we get closer to actually driving across Canada, it feels more real. And I think we felt called to Nova Scotia for a multitude of reasons, but one of the main ones were we wanted to serve in a place where there's a greater need, where there's not a lot of staff already, and there's been a lot of good hires across BC and the prairies, but we really felt like the Atlantic just didn't really have more staff moving there. And so to me, the exciting thing to see is really just ministry grow again in the Atlantic. And to be part of that, I think we both feel very called to serve in places that are harder reached. And it does feel like at this point, the Atlantic is where God is calling us to.
Yeah. Okay. So how can we as Lambrick be praying for you and cheering you on and letting you know how much we love you in this new season?
Of course. I think the first couple ones that come to mind is we haven't really started looking for student leaders to live in community with us. Our prayer and our hope is that we do have students for September, but it really depends on what happens. And so definitely prayers and guidance from God about who he wants us to be investing in and living with. And then a more personal one is I'm started the first steps of my master's over at Regent. I'm doing a master's of leadership, theology, and society. And so it's a 2-year program. I've finished the first 6th of this program. I think it's going to be challenging, but I've already seen a lot of God's good work in me. But I want to be faithful to both my education and the campus I will be serving at. So just perseverance, I guess, as I do all these things. I I can share a story about Matt and I.
Yes, do it.
For sure. So one that's pops up in my mind is so I was taking Old Testament foundations over at Regent, and Regent, I don't know, maybe all master's courses, they're just very hard sometimes. It's a lot of information to remember. But I really like this exam. But anyways, as I was prepping in December for my final examination, I really wanted to do well because it's like a stepping stone to get into my master's program. It's to prove to them like, hey, I have the chops to make it through this master's program. We would be pulling, by we, I mean myself, I would pull late night study parties just in front of the fire up to like midnight, 1 o'clock. And Matt, my loving husband, he would go and work beside me, and we just sit and work together until like midnight or 1, until I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed now. I'm really tired. But I really appreciated his support during that season. So that's just a little tidbit into our relationship. Yeah, we still like each other, married during COVID, but yeah.
You guys, that's beautiful. I feel like you have overcome like 10 years worth of obstacles in year 1 of marriage, you know? You need like just the most chilled out retirement, like filled with jigsaw puzzles and crosswords.
Yeah.
Oh, we do those as well.
I know. It's just what vacation we just did a puzzle together.
Yeah, we enjoy our jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah. Yeah, we're hitting all of the don't do in your first year of marriage, kind of new job, same organization, different location, pandemic wedding, moving from different countries during a pandemic, moving to a different city during a pandemic.
Buying a house.
Oh yeah.
All these minor little things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. You guys are fearless.